My name is Shaun Usher, he was right. And I've somehow made a career off the back of what would appear to be an acute case of nosiness. During my career, and this is no word of a lie, I have been called a professional snooper, a licensed eavesdropper, a literary magpie, which I think is my favourite, and then the most cutting, a thief of intimacy, which I don't quite like. This is my 17th book, and thank you. And it feels like the book I've been working towards for all of my career, since I first became a published author/snooper. It's called Diaries of Note, 366 Lives, One Day at a Time. And it's a collection of 366 diary entries, one for every day of a leap year. Some entries capture history in the making, so wars, revolutions, great discoveries. Others are just beautifully relatable. The book begins on 1st of January 1968 with John Lennon and Paul McCartney on the floor of a Marrakesh mansion, too wasted to talk. And it ends on 31st of December 1947 with American novelist Patricia Highsmith. And she's raising a toast to, I quote, "all the devils, lusts, passions, greeds, envies, loves, hates, strange desires, enemies ghostly and real, the army of memories with which I do battle." In between there are entries by Franz Kafka, Queen Elizabeth II, Jean-Paul Sartre, Louis Theroux, Monty Don is in there. He's a great writer. Frida Kahlo, Christopher Columbus, Evil in War. There are so many, literally hundreds of others, some of whom aren't famous. For almost 5 years I worked on this book. I began during the pandemic when I finally realised I had time to take on what was my most complicated project. And at times it just felt impossible. Choosing just a single entry from someone like Virginia Woolf paralysed me for a week, as did working out or trying to find a particularly good diary entry for particularly difficult dates, like, because I chose a leap year, February 29th is an incredibly difficult day to find a good diary entry. Ensuring that there were no long stretches of white men diarists, or just weeks full of sadness was a consideration. And doing all this while I had to obtain permission to use 260 of these were in copyright. So I had to track down estates. I had help, but I had to track down these people and ask them if I could put them in such a book. So it almost finished me off, but here it is, and I couldn't be prouder. Reading through it will take you on a roller coaster of emotions: joy, heartbreak, rage, wonder, longing, laughter. You can read it cover to cover. You can dip in at random. You can follow it day by day on each entry's anniversary, which a lot of people seem to be doing. It's a celebration of the diary. It's a celebration of the year and its many rhythms, and it's a celebration of the human tendency to keep tripping over the same obstacles generation after generation. If there's one thing I've learned since starting this project, it's that we've not learnt much at all. We're just bumbling into the same problems, facing the same heartaches, and not kind of evolving to get past them. So this whole journey began for me in 2002 when I met the woman who is now my wife, Karina. We worked together in Manchester. We clicked instantly and we started dating. And then a month after we started dating, she moved to Spain for 11 months as part of her university course. And before she left the UK, we made the best decision possible. We didn't realise at the time, but we decided, where possible, to write letters to each other rather than call each other, text each other, or send emails. I can't remember the reason exactly, and nor can she, but it was a fantastic idea. This was 2002, so the age of Nokias, Snake, pay-as-you text, dial-up internet. Facebook didn't exist. MySpace had just arrived, but was not the thing it became. Email was clunky and very slow. So writing letters didn't seem half as kind of bizarre as it might do now, but it still felt quite exotic. And thank God we did, because that was the best possible start we could have had. And I'm convinced that we bonded in a way that would have taken far longer had we not been writing letters to each other. We revealed things and spoke about things and emotions that would have taken a lot longer, I believe, if we'd just been calling each other on the phone or texting. The letters made us honest, and they gave us room to think. And over those 11 months, we fell in love by letter. And I fell in love with letters. And I just, their intimacy, their patience, their power to make distance vanish. And then realizing that that was on the wane, and this thing that had been so valuable for me and Karina was dying out, really lit a fire in me that's never really gone out. In fact, it's only intensified. From then on, I was just completely obsessed. I could not get enough of them. It's a very odd little habit I had, a real obsession. If you found me reading a book back then, 9 times out of 10, it would be a collection of letters. I really feel like I was born in the wrong century, probably. In 2009, unable to contain this beast within me, I started a blog called Letters of Notes, in which I shared some of these amazing letters that I'd been coming across. And within a year, to my complete disbelief, it was being visited by millions of people each month. Just this little blog about letters. It was the most surreal turn of events, and something I still can't really get my head around. In 2013, the first Letters of Note book came out. Became a bestseller and inspired a stage show called Letters Live that was just mentioned, which is still going to this day, and which I produced with Benedict Cumberbatch, who was just mentioned, and some other people. And it's raised loads of money for literacy charities. I say this not to boast. It makes me feel a bit queasy listing all my achievements. But I think it illustrates something really important, which is that in this hyper-digital age, people are desperate for connection that isn't pixelated. And they want words they can hold, the stories they can keep, and voices that aren't filtered through screens or even generated by AI. And deep down, we still crave something slower, more deliberate, and human. I just want to read out a bit from the intro of this book, because I think it's good, and I'll never remember it. I might need my glasses. A diary is a profoundly intimate thing. It's a space where the diarist meets themselves, where truth is spoken freely and without reserve, where emotions spill out unfiltered by the expectations of others. Across centuries, diaries have served as confidants and companions, capturing the lives of their writers in all their messy, raw, glorious humanity. They have borne witness to the monumental and the mundane, wars, revolutions, births, deaths, love, heartbreak, the weather, the shape of a leaf on an autumn morning. Each diary, no matter how grand or unassuming, is an act of preservation, a time capsule that allows the diarist to shout, whisper, or weep across the years. For centuries, people have felt the urge to document their lives in this way, capturing everything from era-defining events to the quiet details of daily existence. And while history books and official records often strive for objectivity and grandeur, diaries offer an unfiltered lens into personal experiences, revealing not just what happened, but how it felt to live through it. They do not present polished narratives or resolved arcs. Instead, they capture life as it unfolds, in fragments and fleeting impressions, as true to the moment as any written record can be. In an increasingly digital world, diaries also have an irreplaceable value. At a time where every post is calibrated for an audience, diaries remain stubbornly private, resolutely authentic. Unlike ephemeral, I always struggle with that word, ephemeral digital interactions, diaries offer permanence, a tangible record that endures beyond algorithms and updates. They are one of the last bastions of uncurated self-expression, where thoughts flow freely without the need for external validation. As technology changes the way we communicate, the diary stands as a reminder of the power of writing simply for oneself. So this book is a celebration of that. And I want to share some of the diary entries with you, some of which are in this book and some which aren't, for various reasons that you'll probably find out. My hope is by the time you're finished, some of you might be inspired to keep a diary of your own, or return to a diary of old, or at least think about what we'll be leaving behind for whoever comes next. Before I carry on, a show of hands, who keeps a diary at the moment? Oh dear. And how many people have at some point kept a diary but don't at the minute? Yeah, okay. That's about normal. Since starting this project, a few people have asked me whether I've got the guts to share my own diary entries in the interest of fairness. I'm currently not keeping a diary. I'm a hypocrite. But the last time I did was a few years ago while working on this book. And whilst preparing for events like this, I thought, if ever there's a moment to bite the bullet, and in the interest of fairness, read one aloud, it's whilst talking about this book. So I went back through these most recent diaries of mine and found an entry that felt right to share. It's special for two reasons. It was written on my and Karina's 10th wedding anniversary, which also happened to be the day I made a rather momentous discovery. So here it is. And I'm sorry for where this leads to. There's no kids in here, is there? Okay, great. 25th of August, 2022. 10 years, a whole decade since we became Mr. and Mrs. Blanco Usher. Back then it was just the three of us, with little Billy wobbling down the aisle in his kilt, his favourite truck tight in his fist, stealing the show before we'd even said our vows. Now there are 5 of us, and Billy is little no more. We've made a home, we've made a family, we've grown greyer, and on good days wiser. I have, without a doubt, become more irritable. This evening we went out to celebrate, all of us. Not candlelight and whispers, but chips and chatter and just enough chaos. The service was hopeless, the steak divine, the children loud and lively. Came home, poured a glass of wine, and dozed through another TV show we'll never finish. A happy anniversary. Diaries of Note creeps closer to life. It's early days, but I'm completely in its grip. So many voices, so much to untangle and catalogue. An enormous undertaking. Today, a discovery that makes it all worthwhile. The plus signs that occasionally appear at the end of Hans Christian Andersen's diary entries signify that on those days he had pleasured himself. It's true. It's absolutely true. Hans Christian Andersen, who was responsible for writing some of the most of the fairy tales you've ever loved and hated. So Emperor's New Clothes, Little Mermaid, Ugly Duckling. Are people eating at the minute? I've never given this talk with food in front of me. I'm so sorry. He kept a record of his masturbation habits by way of little crosses at the end of some of his entries, which is, of course, his right. But since then, I've discovered that Hans wasn't alone. And I don't mean he had company on those days. I mean, at least a few other notable men, it's always the men, kept such a tally. And I don't want to dwell on this too much, especially when some of you are eating or at least digesting your lunch. But I want to mention Kenneth Williams, who, as I'm sure you know, was one of the stars of the Carry On films. Was that an impression of Kenneth I just did? No, don't say sorry. Someone whose voice is literally unforgettable. Now, he made a record of his habits, but less cryptically. See if you can work it out. And please, if you can, imagine this in his voice. I wish with all my heart I could impersonate him. 21st of February 1970. Washed my hair and had a Barclays. 9th of March, 1970. Returned home feeling really quite tranquil. Indeed, I had a Barclays. 1st of April, 1970. Taxi home for a Barclays. He went home to have a Barclays. 18th of May, 1971. Barclays in bed at about midnight. 16th of June 1971, great Barclays at 8:30 with a vision of navvies on a building site. 15th of November 1972, up at about 9 a.m, washed my hair and had a Barclays. 12th of August 1976, quite the Barclays before bed. That's not an exhaustive list, and you might be asking yourself, did I go through Kenneth Williams' diaries and make a note of all the times he mentioned wanking? And I did. You're right. And you're welcome. My mouth's gone dry. George Orwell did not do that. But he used his diaries to religiously record something else, and you'd be pleased to hear it wasn't bodily. In 1938, and bear in mind, this was round about the moment when Germany annexed Austria. Incredibly tense time, a world on the brink. You'd assume that George Orwell, of all people, would be filling diaries with thoughts on fascism, politics, the impending catastrophe. But at this moment in his time, his diaries were used to record the amount of eggs laid by his hens. So these are his full diary entries. I haven't taken anything out. 16th of November, 1938, 1 egg. 17th of November, 1938, 1 egg. 18th of November, 1938, 1 egg. 19th of November, 1938, 2 eggs. His diaries are online. You can on a blog, you can go and read them. And years ago, the Orwell Prize began posting them on the same day and month that they're originally written. But there's a comment section, which I love. So people have been leaving messages beneath each of these egg tallies. That 2 egg entry, that big moment, 63 people have left comments. And this is just a few of them. Well, someone said, "This hen's on fire." Someone else said, "Dude loves eggs." And my favourite, "Fried 2 eggs myself today, thought of Orwell as I did so." I'm sure he would approve. There's a joke in there as well. I'm not clever enough. Something about Orwell and eggs and Animal Farm. That's just going to give you a deconstructed joke there. The oldest diary entry in this book was written in the year 889 by the 59th Emperor of Japan, Emperor Uda. He was 23 at the time, and he'd been Emperor of Japan for 2 years already. High achiever. And this diary entry is the first definitive record of a domestic cat in Japan. And I'm going to read it for you. "Now that I have a few spare moments, I shall write a description of my cat. My cat is 1.5 feet in length and about 6 inches in height. When he curls up, he is very small, looking like a black berry. But when he stretches out, he's long, resembling a drawn bow. The pupils of his eyes sparkle, dazzlingly bright like shiny needles flashing with light, while the points of his ears stick straight up, unwaveringly, looking like the bowl of a spoon. When he crouches, he becomes a ball without feet, resembling a round jade taken from the depths of a cave. My cat moves silently, making not a single sound, like a black dragon above the clouds. Every morning I give him milk gruel. It's not simply that I'm impressed by the cat's many talents. I have felt particularly keen to lavish the utmost care upon him, however insignificant such a creature may really be, because he was given to me by the former emperor. I once said to the cat, 'You possess the forces of yin and yang and have a body that is the way it should be. I suspect that in your heart you may even know all about me.' The cat heaved a sigh, raised his head, and stared fixedly at my face, seeming so choked with emotion, his heart so full of feeling that he could not say a thing in reply." I adore that. And now we jump forwards 1,000 years from one cat to another. Dawn Powell was an American writer who diligently kept a diary over the years that was often as brilliantly written as her work. And this one came in 1945, 5 years after she first set eyes on Perkins, her beloved cat. "My dear cat, Perkins, died today. Very quietly, daintily, a lady wanting to give as little trouble as possible. She took sick on Monday, with chills and bladder trouble, and threw up her fish. She knew, and I knew that this was it. I cashed a bad check to take her to Speyers, where the vet gave me pills and medicine to give her which she hated. Finally, she lay on the balcony, exhausted, in the sun. I heard her choke, and she was in a convulsion, but I picked her up and put her in a chair, where she managed to fix her sweet eyes on me while I held her paw. It was unbearable. Perkins seemed the only lovely thing in life that cost nothing, asked nothing, and gave only pleasure. Her major service to me was curious. She cured me of the disease of night fear. I stayed for weeks alone with her, hearing her rattling around the house. She waited like a modest bride till I was in bed with the lights out, then washed herself and leapt softly onto the bed, tucked herself in my neck and nuzzled off to sleep. It was wonderful to be unafraid. I forgot my debt to her for this until the night after she died, when I was alone in the house and suddenly every sound once more became sinister. The escaped lunatic slowly turning the doorknob, the big brute creeping up the stairs. My cat analyst was dead, and my phobias came plunging out of the pits and closets where they'd been locked. I cannot have another pet. It would be unfaithful to my little dear, who, like no one but me, knew no other cats, no mice, no love but mine. She thought she was my mother. Was ashamed and outraged if I was noisy or loud talking, slapped me if I was blah, avoided me scornfully if I was drunk, approved if I typed. She was the first pet in my life. It's beautiful. And speaking of cats, this isn't a running theme. There are diary entries not about cats and masturbation. There's an entry from a young Beatrix Potter that describes a cat rescuing her kittens from a burning building. But incredibly, Beatrix Potter's diary was written using an alphabet she invented as a teenager, and it wasn't decoded until the 1950s. Here's Elton John, aged 22. 27th of October 1989. Stayed home today, went to South Harrow Market. The session was hilarious. Didn't do anything in the end. Wrote your song. If only all my unproductive days were that incredible. Such a slob. That entry is something I love. It mixes the mundane with the historic. And it reminds me of a series of letters sent to The Guardian a few years ago, all from readers quoting their old diaries. This is like catnip for me, letters and diaries combining. So here's just a few. Dear Sir, there's nothing like teenage diaries for putting momentous historical events into perspective. This is my entry for 20th of July, 1969. I went to the Arts Centre by myself in yellow cords and blouse. Ian was there, but didn't speak to me. Got a rhyme put in my bag by someone who's apparently got a crush on me. It's Nicholas, I think. Ugh. Man landed on moon. That's by Dina Hall, London. And then a few days later, also in The Guardian, another reader chimed in. Gandhi shot dead in India, had a nice hot bath and went to the pub. That's Jenny Gilbertson in Chester, and another, President Kennedy assassinated, paid radio rentals. It's that irresistible mix of history unfolding and life carrying on. This is George Harrison's diary. 10th of January 1969, got up, went to Twickenham, rehearsed until lunchtime, left the Beatles, went home, had chips later. He doesn't just mean he left the studio, he actually left the Beatles that day. He quit the biggest band in the world and gave it 3 words in his diary and went for chips. Back in 2019, when Twitter was still bearable, a woman named Emma Wright shared a photo of her late Nana's diary, written on the 11th of September 2001, so the day the Twin Towers went down. I'm not making light of 9/11. This is what her Nana's diary entry that day reads. Terrorists attack America. And then right below it, windows cleaned. And it's got a little tick next to windows cleaned, which is just perfect. And one more from Franz Kafka. 2nd of August 1914, Germany has declared war on Russia, went swimming in the afternoon. Now, Kafka's diaries are generally pretty bleak, full of doubt, guilt, writer's block, longing, sleepless nights, lots of that. But every now and then there's a break in the clouds and something funny crops up, and this is one of them. 27th of May, 1914. Every evening for a week now, my neighbour has come into my room to wrestle with me. I don't even know him. And we've barely spoken a word. We exchange only a few cries that could hardly be called speaking. Well then, begins the fight. Scoundrel, one of us groans beneath the other's grip. Now, accompanies a sudden thrust. Stop means the end, but we usually just carry on. Often he even bursts back through the door for one last shove that sends me flying. Then from his own room, he calls, "Good night!" through the wall. If I truly wish to end this acquaintance, I'd have to give up my room entirely because locking the door doesn't work. Once, when I locked it to read in peace, he smashed the door in with an axe. And because he has very little control, the axe almost got me. I know how to adapt, though. As he comes at a fixed hour, I only take up light work that I can abandon at once. Tidying a box, scribbling a note, reading a book. Then, the moment he appears, I drop everything. Slam the box shut, let the pen fall, fling aside the book, because all he wants is to wrestle. Nothing else. When I'm feeling lively, I tease him by crawling beneath the table, flinging chairs in his way, winking at him from afar. So camp, though of course it is tasteless to make such one-sided sport with a stranger. Still, more often than not, our bodies lock at once. He's clearly a student. Studies all day, then decides before bedtime that he needs a bout of exercise. Well, he's found in me a worthy opponent. Although I may be the stronger and more skillful of us, he has the stamina. That's it, madness. Does anyone remember the Pink Panther films with Inspector Clouseau constantly being ambushed by his manservant, Kato? Yeah, that's what springs to mind whenever I read that. 18th of June 1960, Sterling Moss was a Formula One driver, British guy, who almost died when one of the wheels fell off his Lotus in Belgium. After being thrown from the car, he was temporarily blinded, broke both of his legs, broke an arm, had spinal damage. He was in a bad way, but he still, that evening in hospital, he wrote in his diary, and this was the entire entry. Shunt, back, legs, nose, bruises, bugger. Here's a few other short ones that always make me smile. This is French writer Jules Renard in 1894. 7th of April, to get rid of flies, take off all your clothes and coat yourself head to toe with a gluttonous liquid, mixed with a little honey or sprinkled with sugar. Then take a slow walk around your bedroom. The flies flock to you. They stick to your skin and you can pick them off at your leisure. As a procedure, it may lack elegance, but it's infallible. American writer David Sedaris, whose diaries are incredible. They're so funny. 18th of May, 1999. Harry told me that when someone on the bus or at a nearby table in a restaurant talks on a cell phone, he likes to lean over and shout, "Come back to bed, I'm freezing." And Russian novelist Leo Tolstoy in 1851. 25th of January, I've fallen in love, or imagine that I have, went to a party and lost my head, bought a horse that I don't need at all. Drunken shopping was a problem long before the internet was fired up. There are no fictional diary entries in my book, but I do think it worth paying our respects to Sue Townsend, whose diaries, well, not her diaries, but The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, aged 13 3/4, is still incredibly funny and not as problematic as you'd imagine all these years later. I'm just going to read a few. January 10th. I can't understand why my father looks so old at 41 compared to President Reagan at 70. My father hasn't got any work or worries, yet he looks dead haggard. Poor President Reagan has to carry the world's safety on his shoulders, yet he's always smiling, looking cheerful. It doesn't make sense. January 15th. I read a bit of Pride and Prejudice, but it was very old-fashioned. I think Jane Austen should write something a bit more modern. February 12th. I'm not sure how I will vote. Sometimes I think Mrs. Thatcher's a nice, kind sort of woman. Then the next day I see her on television and she frightens me rigid. She's got eyes like a psychotic killer, but a voice like a gentle person is really confusing. May the 9th. I've just realised that I have never seen a dead body or a real female nipple. This is what comes of living in a cul-de-sac. July 9th. School breaks up for 8 weeks tomorrow. Pandora's going to Tunisia soon. How I'll survive without my love is anyone's guess. We've tried French kissing, but neither of us liked it, so we've gone back to English. My skin is dead good. I think it must be a combination of being in love and Lucozade. And July 19th. It's just been on the news that a man has been found in the Queen's bedroom. Radio 4 said that the man was an intruder and was previously unknown to the Queen. My dad said, that's her story. I just want to read this. This is by Kate Llewellyn. She's an Australian poet. She's still with us. Her diaries are amazing, and she often writes about old age and her relationship to it. And this was 14th of September 2009. Watching myself age is like watching an explosion far out in a calm sea. So peculiar, so irrationally unexpected. Of course, I knew I would age, and for some decades I watched the process wryly with a bit of a shrug. But now that real old age has arrived, I see that I did not really expect it at all. It's a paradox. I knew it was coming, but I didn't believe it. An example of this is something so outrageous and vain that it makes me smile when I remember it. For a long time, without realizing how old I had visibly become, I would sometimes be surprised when a person would offer to help me lug groceries out of the shop or load them onto my bike or give me a seat on a bus. I used to think, how do they know that I'm old? Truly, I didn't think it was visible. You see, at that time, about 4 years ago, I felt much the same as I always had. I had the same ardour, but not for the same things as I once had. Men were replaced by gardens. The only men I have here now have come to work. It used to be the other way round. But ardour remained strong and obsessive, so I was blithe about how old I looked. Friends spoke of needing to take more rest or not being able to do the same things they once did. In fact, it irritated me to be told that I should not do certain work and that I needed to rest. Once I turned 70, however, slowly I saw that there had been a change, and say what I would, I had no choice but to take things a bit more easily. Endurance had fled, stamina, and looks too. Yet I see old people who are beautiful. I wonder at times if they know it. You might ask if I ever thought of looking in the mirror. Well, I did that, noticing ever more wrinkles, it is true, but in a perfunctory way which I combined with as much denial as an anorexic about the true state of affairs. Yet I seized the chance to work because in work lies happiness. Goethe says, whatever you think you can do or believe you can do, begin it. Action has magic, grace, and power. I just love that. I highly recommend her diaries. Before I take questions, I just wanted to share one last diary entry. This from someone who's not famous. She's unknown to most, but whose words are really moving. Jennifer Bonner was 21 years old when she wrote this. And a few hours later, she was wheeled into surgery to undergo a heart transplant, and she never regained consciousness. What's in here? I'm back in the hospital for more dobutamine. I feel great already. This morning and afternoon, though, I felt as though my energy had been reduced to a thin shell. I'd sit and feel fine, get bored, get up to do something, and then tire out just trying to get there. I had absolutely no reserves. There was no bath I could take, no tea I could drink to give me strength. Now I'm feeling fortified. I feel electric and tingly all over. But still I can't wait for night to quiet this place down so I can get some sleep. On the way up in the car, I started thinking that I've had a full life. I feel like I've begun to comprehend my life. I'm beginning to make peace with the way I fit into the world. People die all the time for senseless reasons. There is no justice in the sense that we learned in school. If we are reincarnated, perhaps there's in some grand overview sense. But there's no reason I should or shouldn't die. People get so vehement about life and death, capital punishment, abortion, euthanasia, but still we die all the time. People accept the inevitability of death in statistics, yet fight to preserve this sense of power over it. I no longer see it as important. I would like to go on living. I would like to do a lot of things, but if I die, it won't be unjust. I don't deserve to live to a certain age. I'm lucky to have lived at all. A man who is a cuter, younger version of Fred just came in, and in Fred's quiet, hesitant way, told us that they might have a heart for me. They won't know for a few more hours whether the person is a donor or not. Right now, we're waiting for someone to die. I'm not thinking about that, any more than I'm thinking about the possibility of really, truly getting the transplant tonight. I came into the hospital, which increased my chances of getting the transplant. Someone's accident has increased my chances even more. But nothing's for certain, and I won't think about it. I won't get my hopes up. And I won't think about the other families somewhere in the hospital, hoping and praying even more fervently than I that this person won't die and that I don't get my transplant tonight. Dr. Shumway came in to don her scrubs. It's a definite go. Now is the time. Still can't think about it, don't want to worry. To offer up my prayer of thanks to the universe for letting me get this far. Now I'll lie back on that stretcher and let the river carry me to the future. Jennifer Bonner ended her diary and her life with gratitude and calm acceptance. And she lives on through those words. But most diaries won't be found. They'll stay in drawers or be thrown away or fade quietly in boxes that no one opens. But that doesn't matter. What matters is the act itself, the reaching for the pen, the decision to mark a day before it disappears, saying, I was here, this was my day, and this was my life, and that's enough. Thank you.